mercy. We're tied at 127. What a shot!
They had a guy get hot at the right time. He sent it to the second overtime.
Free ball. There's another one! Collin Sexton absolutely sizzling from downtown.
Statistically, the worst offense in the league, worst shooting team in the league. Shoot 50% from the three on that many attempts. You know, you got to give them credit. They knocked him down.
And that's Kevin Durant. And as a result of Collin Sexton's 42 points in Kyrie's return, the Cavs knocked down the Nets 147-135 in double OT. More on that coming up in our SportsCenter update at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. You heard the call there on WTAM. Not to be underplayed here. Again in a loss, James Harden, Jay, had another triple-double. Another one. But the bottom line is it's the 2 point guards that are the big story this morning. The one that returned and the one that outshined the guy that returned.
Well, so Collin Sexton, that boy was on fire last night, Key. I don't know if you ever had this hoop-wise. It's an out-of-body experience. It almost feels like he's hotter than cayenne pepper. But I've had this multiple times playing in the course of the game where, Bill Cartwright came up to me one time and was like, Jay, did you see the basket on that last shot you shot? I was like, I didn't see the basket. It didn't matter what I put up. The ball was going in. The ball just found a way to hit the bottom of the net. And that's what was happening last night with Collin Sexton. Like, you go back to the 2018 draft, like, I always felt like he was different. No doubt about it, he's shining this year. And it's proven to be, he is the person that we thought he could be. Now, on the opposite side with the Nets, this doesn't really concern me, them losing the game, right? LeBron James, D. Wade, Chris Bosh, they lost their debut. Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, they lost their debut. The only thing that's kind of concerning is that they gave up 147 points. And that's the one thing we're going to be paying attention to as it relates to this team. We know they can outscore people. We know they can, go on 20-0 runs. They have the scoring power to do so. But their ability to get stops down the stretch, who's going to be that guy? Who's that guy that you say, go get him, Collin Sexton, go get Collin Sexton and stop him? That's going to be the question. 147 points against one of the worst offensive teams in the league. That's concerning.
No doubt. It's Keyshawn J. Will Zubin. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests just this morning will join in the Goodyear hotline. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Key, a couple of stats that just have to be mentioned with Sexton. This might be the most amazing NBA stat of the young season. Collin Sexton, you ready for this, fellas?
Yes, I am.
Scored 15 points in the second overtime alone. He scored 15 points in the second overtime. As for the other point guard, Kyrie, quote, 2 overtimes for my first game back. You got to love NBA ball, though. I was smiling when Collin Sexton was making those shots. We should mention Kyrie because it was a double OT game. He did get up there. He played 48 minutes in his first game, Key, in about 15, 16 days. He hasn't played since January 5th. He was only back at practice on Tuesday.
Well, he's clearly in professional sports shape. I mean, he's a true athlete. So 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off is not going to do anything to his conditioning. The thing that amazes me, though, he comes back and he drops buckets and he plays as long as he did, 37 points. It just seems 28 shots. It just seems like a lot to me for a guy coming back. And as I said before, when they assembled this group of 3, I said, you know what? Yes, it's great. It looks good. But you can't outscore everybody. You're going to have to play some defense.
Couple stops.
Got to deal.
And that is going to be the concerning part as they move forward. They're going to gel. They're going to get together. Jay Will mentioned it a minute ago saying, hey, the other teams that have assembled superstar talent have lost games along the way, first game, second games along the way, and eventually that core will figure it out together once they start to practice and understand it. But you got to stop somebody. You got to be able to play defense on somebody, because what will happen is these coaches, as Jay knows in the NBA, will expose your weakness. When you start to go up against some of those teams that have guys that can put you not only on the perimeter, but also off the dribble, pounded down low. How can you counter that? I mean, and that's a lot of the times in Mike D'Antoni's system. Well, I don't want to call it Mike. Well, I guess you can, right, Jay? Call it.
It's like Steve Nash, Mike D'Antoni system.
Okay,
yeah.
So with this style of play, as we've seen in the past, high volume, high shooting, a lot of scoring, but on the other end, no defense. So again, you cannot outscore everybody. You've got to play some defense.
It's going to be common practice that these guys, between the 3 of them, are going to be averaging around 65 to 70 shots a game. Like, that's a given every game. Last night, Kyrie Irving also was returning to Cleveland to Cleveland, where he won a chip. So I think there was a little extra motivation there. But just let me tell you one quick story, Zubin, about Colin Sexton. Go back to his college days at Alabama. He was playing against Minnesota. Everybody on their team fouled out. They were left with 3 players on the court.
Do you remember?
Colin Sexton was one of 3 players. It was 3 versus 5. I thought they were going to cancel the game, but they continued to play the game. Colin Sexton dropped 40 in that game, and they almost won.
So wait,
they almost
3
won.
on 5?
3 against
The game
3
was in
against
Brooklyn.
5.
The game was
Keith.
in Brooklyn. Yeah.
I've never seen this before. He dropped 40, and they had a chance to win the game down the stretch. That's who Colin Sexton is, though. Just to remind people, I know he plays for the Cavs, but that boy can light it up.
3 on 5. That sounds like a practice drill, Jay.
Exactly, and he was key. I'm telling you, they had 2 cats on him the whole time. He was just taking. It was like 1 versus 5. He wasn't passing to nobody. He was dropping 4. I've never seen anything like it before in my life.
I think he's going to continue to develop, especially as they get some stability in Cleveland and not all the back and forth, changing coaches in and out. Once they get that stability, I think he'll continue to just develop. You can't have change all the time.
Yeah, one last thing I would mention, Jay's right on the money there with the attempts per game. Last night, if you add the 3 together, it was actually 67 shots between the 3 guys. But again, you cannot ignore the fact that everybody is filling it up again. In Kyrie's first game back, as they're trying to integrate him back in, Durant has 38, Kyrie has 37, Harden has a triple-double. And oh, by the way, they'll get a good sense of where they are because their next opponent, same team. They're going to play the Cavs again on Friday. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
That just seemed like a lot. But Jay explained it to me. Got a break.
Got a
He's
break.
Screaming at me.
And that game was in Brooklyn, by the way. That 3-on-5 game. College basketball fans will remember it for sure. On the way, the guys say the pressure is on one quarterback to deliver on championship weekend. If this guy could respond to Key and Jay, he would simply probably utter the letters RELAX. That's after Key has this from Draft KINGS.
That is incorrect, Zubin.
No?
I have Indeed.
Oh.
If you need to hire, you need Indeed. That was the way to go, but that's okay. When you upgrade your job post, Indeed immediately delivers candidates from their resume database who fit your job criteria. Let Indeed sift through resumes so you can focus on selecting your top candidates. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit when you post the job at Indeed.com/credit. That's Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply. Got to get going in the morning.